And welcome to another episode of Your Next Favorite Movie. I am your host, Josh G. And today I have this has been a long time, but he's making a return to the show. Please welcome back Shawn Bowers.
Hey, morning, Josh. How you doing?
I'm all right. I can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be back on. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been, I think, a year ago. I was on with you when you first got started, man. So excited to be back on.
That was at the beginning. You were one of the first. You were early on.
Yep.
I know we brought it up then, but I don't know if you want to talk about it again. I know you're a collegiate athletics recruiter. If you wanted to talk a little bit about your company.
Yeah, I work for NCSA, Next College Student Athlete. So we help student athletes that are looking to want to play in college, and we provide recruiting services for them to help realize their dream of being able to play in college. So it's pretty cool.
All right. Now, today you're taking us back. And I know you were going between two movies and you went with this one. I won't say what the other one is in case you decide to do that episode eventually.
Okay. All right.
I remember what it is.
Okay. Yep.
They share an actor in common.
They do.
And for the sake of this, because I like to keep this kind of spoiler free.
Yep.
We can talk about that character in general, but I would say don't say who it is, because if you haven't seen it and you don't know that's coming, they don't tell you in the credits. That's a big part. So,
yep.
All right, but you're taking us back to 1995. What you probably think is David Fincher's best, what a lot of people think is David Fincher's best, and of course, I am talking about Se7en.
Yeah. Love that movie. I was in college when it came out, so that just shows my age right there. And I own it. I've watched it so many times. It's one of those movies that never gets old for me. It's just a classic, and it's hard. It's gonna be hard not talking about spoilers. I'll do my best because that's what makes the movie so good for me. But we
may give a little spoiler warning to get into some of the questions, just because you kind of have to go there.
Yep. So, but yeah, it's a great movie.
So let's start off. Did you see it in college when it came out?
So I didn't see it in theaters, which bothers me, but I did. I was in college when I was watching it. I don't remember why I didn't see it in theaters. It might have been, I was playing football in college, so it might have been a busy schedule, but I know my roommates and I watched it. Man, I was just blown away.
All right. So for anyone not familiar with it, tell them what Se7en is about.
Yeah. So it's really cool. The premise is based on the 7 deadly sins. And it tells the story through two cops, this aging cop on his last week on the job who's just hoping for retirement to come through and have an easy case, and then this younger cop who got transferred into the department, and they come across this murder, and it leads into basically being about the 7 deadly sins, and they have to solve and figure out who this is, and it's real intricate, real intelligent style of how they do it. So again, I don't want to give too much away, but that's the premise of it's based on the 7 deadly sins, which it's really cool how they do it.
I think, and something else, and I noticed this probably for the first time rewatching it, is that yes, it's the main focus is the 7 deadly sins for sure, but it's also doubling with, you talked about he's almost retired. He's got 7 days left.
Yep.
Morgan Freeman's character, he's on his final week on the job. So I just thought that was kind of cool. All right. Yeah. So talk about a little bit, what is it you love about it? Why do you go back to this? Like, this is a good psychological thriller, right?
Yeah. So, in college, my major was psychology. So any kind of psychology thriller, I love. It was always an interest of mine. The other movie that we won't mention is kind of similar. And so you can kind of see a pattern here. So I love anything that kind of keeps you thinking, keeps you guessing, and really kind of surprises you, which this movie, it definitely does. But yeah, the just that psychology part of things I enjoy, like behind the mind, why people are doing what they're doing, and a little bit of that twistedness in this movie too was fun to watch.
Okay, so I think to get into this next part, I'm gonna have to give a spoiler warning because I don't know where you're gonna go with this, but just in case, I don't see a way of talking about this without it. So, if you had gotten a sequel, back then, what would you do? And anybody, if you haven't seen it, fast forward for about 2 minutes or so while he talks through this.
Yeah, right. Because there was two different ways I was going. So for me, the sequel, I think it would have to. There was two ideas I had. So I'm gonna go with two different ideas here, if that's okay. So the one I would like to see is kind of life for Mills afterwards. What he does, what goes on, everything kind of there. That was one I thought about, but I think for me, the better one would be a prequel type, looking behind that character of what led him to become into what he became in, the character we shall not name. Okay. I think a prequel of that to me would seem pretty cool.
Okay, so you want a prequel on, and hopefully nobody's listening. This is the spoiler territory and I'll just say John Doe because that's what he's known as.
Yep.
So you want his prequel to how he got there.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. Like what if there was anything he did beforehand, kind of what led him into be the character that he became. I think that would be kind of cool.
Okay. All right. Now we get into the territory that could happen, and that is the remake.
Yep.
And who are you putting in some of these roles?
Yeah, so I mentioned to this earlier. So it's one of those things. It's fun to kind of think who you would put in, but I'm one of those guys that certain things should be kind of left alone. And this is a movie that to me should be left alone. However, it is fun to think about who I would put into that role. So the first thing, the character of Tracy, I went a little out of the box with this one. I went Zoe Saldana. And reason being, and again, without giving anything away, to me, she is a character who can make the audience feel for her, develop some compassion, develop some feeling for that character where I think knowing what we know, Josh, that's somebody you'll feel for when,
right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I kind of, and I was walking through and looking some people because originally it was Gwyneth Paltrow who played that character, and I was thinking Dakota Johnson, Natalie Portman, kind of similar people at that. And then looking at Zoe, I was like, some of the other roles she plays, she's just somebody you always feel for. Like she elicits a reaction, and I thought she could get that same reaction that people had for this character at that time. What do you think?
I like it. I think I like it. Like you said, it's funny you said out of the box. What's in the box? So that's funny that you even said that, but
right, no pun intended, but yeah, right.
I like the choice. I like the choice of words.
Yeah.
All right. So where we're going now? We're going Mills next.
Yeah, I'm going Mills. And it's interesting because Brad Pitt at the time, I think he was in his 30s when he did it. So you look for somebody who's kind of like a little bit younger, but couldn't really find anybody. But I immediately thought of this character because I think he can bring what Pitt brought to this character, and they're similar in looks. I went Charlie Hunnam with that because I think that edge, that fireness, that passion that Pitt brought to that role, I think Hunnam could do it. With that, and he had that similar kind of look to me anyway.
So I'm familiar. Charlie Hunnam, that's Jax from Sons.
Yeah, from Sons. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I want to make sure I had the right guy in my mind.
Yep. That's who it was. And he was in. I don't know if you saw the Gentleman with McConaughey and that. He was.
I did not.
Okay, I highly recommend you watching that, man. It's a Guy Ritchie movie.
Right.
Really, really good. Highly recommend it. So he's in that. He's the second main character in that movie. So
okay.
And again, I think looks wise, you could see Hunnam and Pitt kind of looking very similar with the look they have.
Okay. Yeah, in my mind, I picture Jax with the long hair before he cut it. So I'm like, really? And then, but okay, I see what you're saying though.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, and I can't for the life of me remember Morgan Freeman's character.
Somerset, Detective Somerset.
Okay. Yes.
So this is an interesting one. I know we were talking off camera about this. So I almost wanted to break your rule, and I was going to recast Morgan Freeman in it because he basically looks the same as he did back then. You know,
I can't argue that.
Right. But I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I have interesting. I'm going to kind of tell you the other two that I was thinking about, and then the reason why I went with the choice I went with. So I was thinking you need somebody who's looks seasoned, looks like they're ready, can portray, hey, I'm ready to be retired, but also has that intelligence about him. Because Somerset was a very intelligent character with how he went about this case. So you need somebody who can kind of really give that aura. So initially I thought Denzel, he's up in years, you know, he box office draw, he can do that. He's played the cops, you know, in Fallen. He was another one that had that intelligent kind of character to him in that movie Fallen. But I kind of settled on Jeffrey Wright.
Oh, okay.
Again, I think similar look-wise to Freeman at the time with Somerset's character. And he does give that intelligence kind of feel of, okay, you can see this guy really figuring out why this is going on, how to solve this and do that. So again, it's a little different, but again, when you think of Jeffrey Wright and certain characters, I think he can play that older retiring cop role pretty well to me.
I like it. And I like it not only over the Denzel pick, just because Denzel is going to overshadow whoever is beside him. I don't know that Charlie Hunnam's going to be able to stand toe to toe with Denzel in a movie, you know? Like,
yep. Yeah, exactly.
So
yep.
I like that choice. Yeah.
Yeah, that went in my thinking too, like who could go with that. And then that's why I also went with Hunnam and with Zoe. I thought they could play well off of each other as well.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you this because I was thinking about it, as you said,
yep.
You know, most people come on, they don't want a remake. I get it. I'm not a remake guy either. What if they were to make a movie or something, or a series, could be a 7-episode series based on this premise, you know?
You're right.
But they didn't have, it wasn't Mills, it wasn't Somerset, it wasn't the exact same storyline, but they did something like that, police procedural with 7 Deadly Sins. Would you like to see something like that?
I would be okay with that. I think the premise of it, I think is good. Yeah, something along those lines, I would be cool with. Similar premise, yeah. I think I would watch something like that.
Now, would you prefer another movie, or would you prefer the Netflix 7-episode series these days? Because everybody loves their TV.
Right. You know what? I think the Netflix 7 series episode, I think that's a cool premise there. I think doing it in 7 episodes, I think that would be, I would think that would be pretty cool. I think of like, you know, I don't know if you got into Ozark, but I got into that and how they did that was pretty cool. So I think if you did something with this premise on Netflix with like 7 episodes, yeah, I'd watch that.
Yeah. As far as Ozark, I need to watch the final season, but I watched the first 3. I just didn't watch this final one yet.
Okay.
But I love Ozark. I love Ozark. And I'm not a big TV guy, so that's surprising. I have a hard time with series because I'm like, why is it still going? I want a movie that's in and out and I'm done with the story. But Ozark, partially because I'm a Jason Bateman guy.
Oh yeah, he was excellent in that.
Yeah.
I
saw Teen Wolf 2 at a young age and I was sucked in from that movie. So
there you go.
I still love that even now. So, but that's a whole other story about Teen Wolf 2. All right, now it's time. Let's give that final pitch on someone who hasn't seen 7, why they should go in and take a chance on this, the original David Fincher classic.
Yeah, I think you're going to be riveted throughout the entire movie. I think you're going to be at the edge of your seat throughout the entire movie. I think it's one that is going to keep you focused throughout. And I think, again, the way the movie plays out throughout, I think everyone's going to be glad they saw it. I highly recommend everybody should watch it. If you haven't watched it, you got to watch it. No doubt. It's to me, it's a 10 out of 10.
Okay. That's what I like to hear when I have guests come on and talk about a movie. I want them to be bringing me their 10 out of 10s. That's what this is about. The favorites, the best of the best. And sometimes it's well-known movies and sometimes it's lesser-known movies. And I love both equal parts. And I'll just tell listeners, I don't normally do this, but for those that like this episode or like Fincher related, I have covered Zodiac in the past. And I have not done an official episode on Fight Club, but if you go back to my Bad Influence episode, we talk about Fight Club on there. If you've seen Bad Influence, you will know why. If not, and you don't want to watch it, check it out and you'll understand why. But for that, that's going to wrap this one up. So, Shawn, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at JokerShawn37. Shawn is SHAWN. Always getting interactive, always involved there. So yeah, at JokerShawn37 on Twitter.
All right. And as always, you can find the show on Twitter and Instagram at ynfmoviepod. Easiest thing to do, go to linktr.ee/ynfmoviepod. It has social media, podcasts, YouTube, my personal letterbox, so you can see what I'm watching that doesn't get covered on the show. And I'll be back next week with a new guest and a new movie. Until then, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you next time.